Hello there. My name is Dr. Tracy Baxendale Ball, and I am a somatic and body oriented therapies specialist. Today, we're going to be moving through a hip protocol to ease pain in the hips and lower back. As with any movement, please check with your medical team before you start this practice. Adapt for any injuries and illnesses that you have. Avoid pain, but warmth and tingling is okay. Feel free to pause this audio in places that you'd like to stay and breathe for longer. If you're doing this with a facilitator, remember that we have a trauma-informed, no-touch policy. So we'll be moving with you. Let's start. The first set is a standing series for grounding and activation. Begin with standing your feet hip width apart and feel your weight evenly distributed across both feet. Raise one arm overhead and gently stretch to the opposite side to activate the side body. Go ahead and switch sides. I'd like you to do this again, and this time, as you bend to the side, I want you to plunge your heel to the floor, one heel and then the other, as though you are squishing a marshmallow under your heel. Breathe into the front part of your hip and pelvis. Now, step 1 foot back so that you're in a front stance. Lift up your back heel so that you're in a soft lunge. Lift and lower the back heel a few times, paying attention to what happens in the front of your hips. Switch sides. Place your other leg forward, and with your back leg, raise your heel. Raise your heel up and down, paying particular attention to the muscles that cover the front of your hips and pelvis. Now, take a wide stance. Your feet are in a straight line. Bend one knee and begin to twist the torso side to side. So you're gently rotating your belly button from one side of the room to the other. Breathe into this twist. Notice how your body is feeling before moving to the floor. Now we're going to do a lying on your back series, and this is going to be a little more focused on releasing tension and mobility in that lower back and hip area. You might want to get into these shapes on a mat. Lie comfortably on your back with your knees bent. So your feet are on the floor and your knees are facing the ceiling. Now pay attention to your pelvis. Imagine your pelvis is a big triangle. Running along the top is a pelvic ridge, that's what we'll call that. And then on the bottom is a pelvic tip. Now I want you to do pelvic tilts. Gently rock your pelvis up towards your belly button and down into the floor. So it's as though if you have that marshmallow right at the bottom of your back, you're squishing that into the mat. And if your marshmallow is in the front of your pelvis, you're tipping it towards your belly button. Do this a few times. Now we're going to do single and double knees to your chest. Draw one knee in. Now relax the chin and the jaw. In this shape, your neck needs to be nice and soft, but straight and not jutting into the air. So to tuck it a little bit, let your chin move a little bit towards your heart. Once you've got that knee in place, your hands are either on top of your shins or behind your leg, clasping behind your thighs, and then hold that knee and breathe into that opening. I'd like you to take about 5 breaths in each pose. And as I mentioned, if you find something particularly juicy for your body, then pause that audio and just stay in that shape for a while. So you're going to draw the other knee in, and the other leg is on the floor with your tailbone drawing down. You're holding that and you're breathing into the tip of the pelvis, and you're relaxing around the hips. When you're done with that, draw both knees in if it's comfortable for you, and just give yourself a little hug and maybe roll around a little bit on your mat, side to side, up and down, feeling the spine connected. If you have a resistance band, that's helpful to do some hip thrusts, and there are various ways you can do this. If you place the resistance band around your knees, you can press the band gently outwards and then let that band go. So you're pressing the knees outward into the band and letting them go. Do that a few times. Also, another good exercise to release the hips and strengthen the pelvis is with the band around your knees, the feet flat on the floor, take one knee and thrust it towards the front, and then take the other knee and thrust it towards the front. So it almost feels like you're sort of walking upside down with one knee going forward and one knee coming back. Your feet are still on the floor and your knees are still going up to the ceiling. And now we're going to do bridge pose. So make sure your neck is soft and your jaw is relaxed, and the hands can be pressing into the floor here. And lift your hips slowly towards the ceiling. Some people like to put their hands underneath them and clasp their fingers. Some people are far up towards the ceiling and can get their hands underneath them. But remember that we're really just trying to open up air and space and breath into the hips. So practice that bridge pose and then coming down to the floor. Feels super good to put a block under the tailbone and just stay there and let the hips drain for a minute. So you can do that now if you'd like, or maybe at the end of this practice. Now, you might have heard of child's pose. You can move onto your hands and knees and then bring your hips back towards your heels, and your forehead is resting or supported on the floor. So breathe into this pose for your 5 breaths and just feel how this lands in your hip area. Not everybody will want to do this next pose, which is frog pose. But from child's pose, if you want to do this, your feet are going to stick out to the side instead of being tucked underneath you. Probably your knees are going to be a little wider to prevent injury. And then you're going to be on your forearms and you're going to sink your hips back and then move them a little bit forward, back and a little bit forward. And if you're not sure how to do any of these poses, you can look up a visual aid so that you're more certain that you're in the right position. While we're there, put your feet back in the regular position, straight back, like they were in child's pose. And with your hips wide, just take a few big hip circles. Drop your head so that you're not hurting your neck. And just take some circles to the left and to the right. And really feel into these big hip circles as you move your hips back and then forward almost into cobra, and just take some time there. Once you're done with that, lie on your back again and put the soles of your feet together and just let your knees flop open. So your knees are in a diamond shape. I like to have my legs supported in this pose. So I like to put blocks or towels and tuck them under my legs as they flop out. And this way I can really let those hips release without overextending. Take about 5 breaths in that supported diamond pose. Bring your knees together and actually press them together a little bit to sort of release the muscles in the opposite direction. And then if you want, you can do thread the needle here, which means that you cross one ankle over the opposite knee or leg, and then you just draw your leg into the chest. You can use your hands for that. So that's why it's called thread the needle, because one foot is on top of the other leg, and then you reach through that and thread your hands through that to pull gently on the leg. If that hurts your knees, don't do that. You'll be able to do something similar from a seated position. Now I'm going to ask you to carefully turn over onto your tummy and just lie there for a moment on your tummy. Resting on our tummy or our front side is so important. And just notice the back body here, taking in the air. Feel the back of your head, spine, glutes, legs, feet. Now, while you're lying on your belly, just come onto your forearms as though you were lying on the floor reading a book. Um, and just stay there in that cobra for a minute and feel that your hips are grounded on the floor and push them into the floor a little bit. Remember that marshmallow? In the area of your pelvic triangle, just push down a little bit. While you're lying on your belly, kick up your legs and do some windshield wipers by just dropping your legs side to side and feel into the hips as you do that. Now come into a tabletop position, which means your hands are on the floor, your knees are on the floor, and you're in sort of a square shape, as though your back is a table where we could put a tray. And from here, you can do what's called cat-cow. So you round your back up and plunge the spine towards the ceiling, and then you let that belly drop. And here, because this is a practice that's focused on the hips, if you take your knees a little wider and do cat-cow, you'll notice a little more traction around the hips. When you're ready, you can come into a seat. So sit on your bottom and maybe move side to side and move the flesh out so that you're sitting as close to the floor as possible. Draw one knee towards your chest. Let it flop to the side. So this is a modification for that threading the needle on the floor. Pull it back up to your chest and do it on the other side. Pull one knee to your chest, let it flop to the side. Maybe you want to bend forward a little bit or rotate your torso. Do whatever feels good here. And now we'll try a modified lotus position. So you might have heard this called butterfly. Basically, you're just going to be in your seated position, and I recommend that you sit against the wall so that you can really focus on your hips and not keeping your spine straight necessarily. Use the wall to, bolster this pose. So you're just going to sit first with the soles of your feet touching each other in a cross-leg position, and you can grab those cushions or blocks or blankets and put them under your legs so you can really breathe into those hips. If you'd like to take the fingers towards the floor, you can do that now. And it's really important that you relax your chin and your neck, let the head flop forward a little bit, and really just breathe. So the idea is not to get close to the floor. If you can, good for you. The idea is to use those fingers like a little stand and breathe down into the hips, pushing down into that floor, that marshmallows under your glutes now, and you're pushing down into the floor, breathing into the hips and lower back. Now we'll do something called glute rolling. We're not going to use a roller yet, but come back to that pose where one leg is out and you're tucking one knee in and holding your knee or keeping it on the floor. You're going to roll your torso around in a circle and feel into those hips. Your circles could be very small if you're very tight in your hips, or they could be very wide if your hips are looser today. And you'll notice that your hips and lower back feel different every day. So to do it on the other side, you're sitting upright on the floor. Your legs are out in front of you. You're going to pull the other leg in. The sole of your foot then is going to be sort of by your knee. And then you're going to catch that leg. You're going to hold it and do some of those glute rolls. And this is a very intense movement. So take it easy because you don't want to stretch your muscles, overstretch your muscles, and get injured. Thanks for joining me for one of my favorite set of practices to release tension in the hips. Go easy with yourself and take some time to breathe. We're at the end of our audio recording.